Right, hi everyone. So nice to see you all. So I was asked to do this human library talk about my career and my profession and different things like that. So I thought I'd start at the very beginning. So when I was at school and when I was younger, I was obsessed with PE and sport and the human body. And I really, really wanted to be a PE teacher. So that was my go-to. So I played football all the time, sports mad. Wasn't particularly interested in other things. So I went as if I was going to be a PE teacher. So I went and did all the things you think about being a PE teacher. And I think looking back when you're at school, you don't really get to see a lot of other professions. So obviously my PE teachers were the main people who had a career, and I think that's why I went down that pathway. My parents and professionals, no one's been to university at this point in my family, so it wasn't really like I need to go to uni, I need to go do this, I just wanted to get a good job that I enjoyed. I came out of school and college and went to do sports science at Teesside Uni, because I thought that I'd go there and I'll do my teaching certificate and go be a teacher, and I hated it. I don't know what it was. It wasn't Teesside Uni. It was the people on the course just weren't really like my kind of people. So I dropped out after year one, spent the remainder of my student loan on going to the pub and not really knowing what to do and being a bit lost. And then thought, right, I need to get my act together. What am I interested in? Still interested in human body and everything like that. Still interested in sport, fitness and helping people. So I got a job in a pub and decided to go back to college and do human biology A-level, but I had to do it in a year. So I did the first year and the second year together because I just needed to kind of get it done and then get onto a university course. So I did it in a year, so that was intense because I was with the first years and the second years at the same time. So I don't think they'd done it before, they just took a bit of a risk on me. And it was fine, it paid off, thank God. Mm-hmm. And then I still didn't really know what I wanted to do, so I kind of started reaching out to hospitals and people, and I knew the two professions that I really knew well was radiographer, because with being a sporty person, I was constantly in A&E and constantly getting x-rays, and I remember going in there as a kid and seeing the radiation symbol and being a bit petrified of the fact that what did that mean. I used to question the radiographers all the time, like, I've had 5 x-rays on this right ankle, I've had 5 x-rays on this, and I remember being a bit like, oh my God, like a bit worried about that. So it was my first awareness really of the radiation world and physiotherapy because of the sports side. So I'd spent a bit of time with a physio in the community, and this is no offence to physios because I'm the AHP workforce lead, but I didn't enjoy that element of that. But that's another reflection back to think about when you take on students or when you're going to do placements. It's so important what that impact has on a young person. And it was a very small area of work that person did with rehab with older people. And I was, a young kid, and I was thinking, I want to play sport, I want to be, Arsenal's physio. This is what I want to kind of do. So it wasn't, but that was probably not a good example. I should have maybe tried different areas to see if that was it. And then there was a few open days at this hospital. So I am from around here, born and bred in Mask. So I came to this hospital to have a look around. And I thought, right, with diagnostic radiographer, that's what I'm going to do, because that's all I knew about. And then randomly out of the blue, somebody from radiotherapy got in touch. It was their clinical educator, had got in touch and emailed and said, have you ever thought about radiotherapy? My name must have been circulating as a bit of a lost person, of like, oh, this person, yeah. So I went in to spend the day in radiotherapy here, and that was it. Yeah, I found my guy, really. So I spent the day. It was really good. It had the cancer treatment side, which was important to me because after doing human biology and my granddad had cancer, it was kind of like going down that field, and I wanted to treat people with cancer. But there was I couldn't think of a job apart from being a consultant, which I didn't really want to spend all those years at med school. I didn't want to be a nurse. I wanted to specialise after that. So I went to radiotherapy and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. This is what I do day in, day out. So I applied for the university course and went to Sheffield Hallam for 3 years, which was brilliant. Totally loved going to university. I didn't think I ever would. I kind of thought I'd just because no one really went to university in my family. Just thought I'd just get a job and crack on. But yeah, I went to uni, it's just changed everything. I think it probably just changed me really in terms of the confidence and everything. I did my placements here, and at the time I wanted to change to Sheffield because I was having such a good social down in Sheffield. But I didn't change because our department here was probably the best for students. So I stayed, and that's why I've stayed to now. So I kept my placements here, but had my fun time at Sheffield, and then came over seriously when I came up here. So after 3 years, I qualified. It was a really good course. It was a really quick learning curve, and I don't know if you appreciate when you're that age that you go into an environment where everyone you see has cancer. And I think talking to my parents after, they were really concerned about your mental health and everything. And I don't really think I appreciated it till I was in the job, and you started seeing 50% of your course dropping out by Christmas. And it's hard. It was hard at the beginning, and then I think you just kind of you see how modern technology is evolving. You're actually making a massive difference, and it was never boring. You were always, getting involved, so you were learning something new all the time. Second year was a bit more difficult. So I don't know if everyone's had this when they've gone, but I feel like second year is the hardest for like most things. And there was a few difficult times that you had to like pull through, but the department again was so encouraging. So even when you were struggling at the field, the department would pull you through because you could just see the impact of the patients and what you were delivering. Got through my degree and then worked here as a band 5, and back then, they were giving out jobs. So got a job as a band 5, and I loved being a band 5 radio. But I can remember so I don't know if you've ever been over radiotherapy, but it has big mazes, because obviously the radiation mazes, and you're running up and down those mazes. First in, first out the room, that was a real, learn everything. Absolutely loved being a band 5, and I was a band 5 for about 3 years, which is a long time now. When you look at the generations coming through now, it's usually about a year, and then they're progressing. And I went for a band 6 job quite early on. I didn't get it, and it was probably the best thing that I didn't get that job. I wasn't ready. I just didn't want people to think that I wasn't ambitious. I just wasn't ready yet. So I'd gone for it. I remember when it was the only interview ever when I sit down, I went, oh God. Like I just wasn't ready, but that was a good experience. And looking back now, everyone's quite surprised that I was happy that I hadn't got it. I worked about 3 years band 5, and then I got a band 6 post, and that just increased the leadership responsibilities and different things like that. So you opened up to more experience in the technology side, and as I was developing, so was radiotherapy. So the new machinery was coming in, we were getting CT planning, everything was just developing all the time. So you never really get bored. You always had to keep up on all the technology. As a student, I'd spent some time in Canada. I'd gone over and done my elective placement in Canada, and all the stuff that they were doing, we were then suddenly doing it in the UK. So that was just brilliant. So I was working as a band 6, and it's funny because I have changed a lot over the years, but my wife, who used to work with me, she doesn't work with me now, and she said, when I first met you, you were a band 5. And someone said to me, you were a band 6, and I was like, no, never do that. Like, why would I do that? And it's so funny now, because I'm obviously so it's funny how much I had changed. I was like, that was my opinion of band 6s in management at that time. Obviously, that was like 20 years ago. I was a band 6 for a few years, and then there was an opportunity. So there's a lot of static work, and I think with the AHP world, it's probably the same in the nursing world as well, but 7s don't come up very often in radiotherapy, or they didn't when I was quite a few years ago, and a flurry of 7s just left, and I've been a 6 for quite a few years, but it was probably quite early to go for a 7, but we were in that situation where if you don't go for it, you're waiting for another 10 years. So I went for it, and I got it, which was fantastic. A very steep learning curve after that, because that was just the management world, 101. So that was really good, because it just made all the things I knew that I could bring to the workforce and the patients, that was there. It was just the learning and the educational stuff that I just had to build on. So that was fantastic. And then I got the opportunity to do my masters, so I did my masters. I did way better in my masters than I did in my degree, but I think I was probably enjoying myself too much doing my degree because I just got through it. With my masters, you could really apply what you were doing and you could see the benefits to the patients. So I think that makes it a hell of a lot easier when you're educating yourself. So I did my masters, which was great, and it just opened up my mind to the possibility of either moving out or the contribution outside of radiotherapy and what impact you can have for the workforce, and I think that my master did that for me. And then as the technology was increasing even more, I was leading their SABE service, which is stereotactic body radiation, so like ablation therapy. So I was leading on that for lung cancer, and that's really where I thought my future was going, into lung consultant radiographer, because that's my area we were doing, teeny tiny lung tumours and ablating them, and it's cutting edge for this country really. And we were a leading service in it, so that was amazing. The research, I was involved in research, talking at conferences, and really that's what I thought that was going to be my direction. We had a few different conferences we were going to speak at, and then COVID hit, and it cancelled a lot of those things, and it cancelled a lot of the research, and everything kind of stopped, and it kind of made me reassess about things and where the future was and what areas I do want to work in. We were one of the first in the country to treat heart, so a VT. Like normally as a radiographer you don't touch the heart. It's like rule 101, you don't touch the heart. And then we were treating 25 gray, which is normally you're not very bad, but like normally if you treat a prostate, it's 2 gray per day. Aimed at the prostate, this was 25 gray to the heart. So I remember treating the first patient, and it was like, we think they're probably going to die on the bed. They didn't, thank God, which was amazing, but that was like how cutting edge it was getting, and it was fantastic. So I was really thinking this is where things are going. And things started to slow down, and I started getting really frustrated being a 7, and just it's not really about the 7, it was more the power and influence that you have in the organisation. So I started looking at other areas of, do I want to be in management, or do I want to be manager of that department? And if so, you have to wait till your manager kind of leaves or go. There's not a lot of areas to go into, and I didn't know of the areas to go into because I was very much in that silo over in the Endeavour building, didn't really know a lot else. And then this job came up, this AHP workforce lead job came up, which is a secondment, and that was funding given by HEE to the trust for a 6-month secondment to focus on AHP workforce, which until previously hadn't been done by an AHP. And when I came into that, I mean Sarah knows because Sarah started her job at the same time, but it was just mad to learn about when you step outside of your comfort zone. And I went from a team that knew me very, very, very well. And I within that team, they knew my partner, they'd seen me coming out and everything like that. So that whole journey was safe over there. Then I stepped out into an unknown world. So it was crazy. And you start building your own little family, don't you? You start building your own little team outside of that of who's your go-to people. And that's been just a really fantastic experience. And the one thing when I applied for the job is, I think I can do that. The rest of it I'll have to learn, but I think I can do that bit. I moved into this job. 6 months turned into, I'm nearly 2 years now. It's still a secondment. I'm hoping it continues. But what I've learned from that is just the decisions you want to make and the contribution you can give can be a lot bigger when you're almost let out. And I feel like I was let out. And then being able to make those decisions, look at how things are, have a different voice than a lot of other people that were maybe in the room, having the confidence to do that. I went on a few leadership courses and just constantly building up, so I constantly want to improve that so that I know I can shout about being a therapeutic radiographer, being at AHP, and just make some positive changes that I've seen from being here. So I am surprised that I'm still at South Tees because there is other opportunities. There's been a lot of growth in the south and everything like that, but I just think there's something about here that just kind of you're doing it for your people who are in that community and the people that work here. So then when I came out of my clinical role, not like I had any extra capacity, but my capacity was shaped differently in terms of I could control it. So I became chair of the LGBT plus network, and I think I wouldn't have ever done that before because it took me a while to come out at work. Because everyone knew me so well, they'd seen me previously, and this was almost like a new person to them, even though it wasn't. And then Ben, who used to run the network before, was kind of like, do you want to take this on? And I was like, yeah, I felt like a bit of an activist. Like, I'd come out and then I thought, you know what, I'm now more spread out across the organisation, so my face and my name is everywhere. This is probably a good move to be a confident gay person who will represent. So I kind of took it as that, and as I learned more about it, and that little bit of activeness comes out in you a bit to fight for some of the unfairness that you see. Not necessarily myself, I've had a fantastic experience here, and my team were, I undermined how well they supported me, to be fair. I underestimated them. And I've had a really good experience, and I just want to make sure that people in the organisation, if they don't have a good experience, they have somewhere to come to, and that I can support from that point of view as well as my full-time job. So I don't know how long I'll do that for, but I feel like that's just, I feel like that's what I'm giving back. So that's it for today.
So I was asked to do the Human Library by Becky. So I didn't know much about it at first, but I know that my friend Jen Trafford had done it previously, one of the first test pilot ones. I was a bit apprehensive at first because it's a bit odd sitting and talking about yourself in front of an audience of people. So I agreed to do it because I know it's important to build that rapport with the staff that work here and be able to share that whole experience of yourself and not just one element of the role that you're in. So I agreed to do it. It was really good. At first it was really a little bit cringeworthy because you are just sat talking about yourself, which I know people feel a bit uncomfortable doing. But then I got into the flow of it. It was really quite nice therapy actually, just to go through kind of the journey I've been in my career and where I am, what got me to this point today. And looking back on it, it really made me quite proud of what I've achieved and how hard I've worked to get to where I am. And it was really nice to share that with some colleagues that maybe don't know about the background and don't know how I got to the position I am now. So it was really nice to just share that. And I would really support people attending the next one or even volunteering to be the Human Library, because it was a really nice experience just reflecting back on maybe why you are who you are, why you volunteer for things, why you what contribution you've given to the trust and vice versa. And also I think it builds quite a lot of empathy in terms of building those relationships with your colleagues across South Tees, which is really important because now I feel like people have a bit of an inside of me and it builds that trust and that bond. So I would really encourage you to attend the next Human Library. There's information on the intranet, and there'll also be posters around the Strive, or come and ask someone from the library about it. Get involved, it's a really good experience and I fully recommend it. Is that right? Yay! Right, hey, I'm getting one takes now, aren't I?
Yeah, I like that. I'll keep that in.